you may think that this is just, no big deal talking about sheetrock, tape bed texture, things like that. But I could talk all day with my next guest, Eduardo Padilla. He is the owner of Platinum Turnkey Solutions in Arlington, Texas, and we have a lot of ground to cover. We're gonna talk about something near and dear to my heart. When you wake up in the middle of the night and there's a waterfall in your bedroom, what do you do? Welcome to the show, Mr. Eduardo Padilla. How are you, sir?
Pretty good, sir. Pretty good. Thank you for inviting me, Alex.
It's
It's a pleasure always to be here, to be part of your program.
thank you.
This is
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is our business,
yeah,
and any
yeah.
way we can help homeowners, that's great.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your story because you have a fascinating story. You came from Mexico, and you tell me about your first job when you came to Texas, and when was it?
Well, this was in 1995. I was gonna be here just for a couple months to study English, and then I enrolled myself on a Collin Community College, trying to improve, and learn English for another job opportunity. But long story short, I never thought I was gonna end in living here in the U.S. The money was running quickly, and I started looking for a part-time job, and my very very first job was in a Jack in the Box flipping hamburgers, and
You miss it?
sorry,
It's okay. And then where did we go from there?
I'm sorry. Oh, it's been a long run. I'm sorry. Um, I get very emotional.
You've come a long way, my friend. You've come a long way. You were working in a car wash,
Yeah,
doing the wheels.
I work in Jack in the Box. I work in a car wash industry for a
Uh-huh.
couple years, and then there was opportunity to work with a good friend of mine in a drywall business, and I was not with any experience at all in construction, drywall, or anything like that. And a few months later, I was able to pull the strings, to move the gears in the right direction, and I was able to start building a pretty good, interesting line of clients. In that time, there was only the majority of our business. It was with production builders, big builders, with many subdivisions, and there was a challenging time where basically the production homes, everything is about timing, volume, subdivisions, and a few years later, I figured out that it was very hard to make money with those budgets,
Mm-hmm.
because everything is related about pricing, budgeting, and not much about quality or
Mm-hmm.
service.
Mm-hmm.
Through the years, I started just our own company is now, like you mentioned, Platinum Turnkey Solutions, where we've been focusing basically in dealing with people who cares, people
Mm-hmm.
who's looking for better materials, better service,
A higher
a
quality.
higher quality. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we are expensive, because some people relate.
Well, that's all relative
Yeah.
because now I've watched you grow for 25 years or something. I
Yes,
don't know how long it's been. It's been a long time. We were both young guys.
I know.
I had a full head of hair and a six pack,
I know.
and here I am with a head and a keg.
Yeah,
So,
well, now we don't have that six pack but yeah, it's been a very, very interesting time changing. And basically, now we're working for the majority of our clients, they're custom builders,
hmm
where we normally never repeat the same project two times. Once we do that house, we probably never going to see that plan again,
hmm
ever.
hmm
We still doing a lot of remodels with many a good percentage.
Well,
Probably.
you kind of developed a niche business where
Mm-hmm.
you do a high end finish. I mean, your finishes, your all of your employees are professionals, and they're extremely good at what they do. But there's a lot more than just hanging sheetrock, putting mud on it, and sanding it off.
Yes.
The real core of what makes the difference in a company like yours and the guy that just came off the production home building industry is the little things like the cleaning up,
Yes.
the priming,
The
all
masking.
the fact that you go through and you look at your work critically and you go, and because when you come on my job, you're like, we're going to be back in a couple of days with a crew to fix all these little nicks and all the little things, and that's something that we used to never get. You know,
Yes.
we just didn't get it because we didn't have companies that had that quality standard. So I wanted to just talk because I love your story. It's the American dream.
It is.
You're doing incredible. You've got an incredible family. I'm real proud of you. You've done
Yeah.
really well. So let's move on and let's talk about some of the things that have come up lately. I should have had you here, 3 or 4 months ago, maybe 6 months ago after that big freeze,
Yes.
because people are, but you kind of have a similar thing part of this year because you have people running their air conditioning and it's going to flood through the ceiling as much, not as often, but it happens more than it should. And so you're going to get calls to repair sheetrock. And I have just some basic questions that people ask me, like they'll see the water damage and they'll say, can we save that sheetrock? I don't want to have to pay to replace it. And most of the time I'm like, no, you really can't, because it's just basically powder and paper.
Yeah.
And there's no way to save it. But the other thing that you have to deal with is what's above it or what's behind it if it's in
Correct.
a wall. And that's the insulation and the other things that have gotten wet.
Yeah, sometimes the drywall is the easy part of the damage.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing that we going back a little bit and something that we trying to do, the drywall trade, the drywall finish is a very simple trade, but what involves on trying to provide a good service is the work before that, the proper demolition, the proper masking,
Preparation.
using the right materials, the right tools, and especially,
Mhm.
it's enough stress dealing with the water damage when you have kids, you have pets, you have your head,
Furniture.
and the last thing that you want to worry is about the guys that are gonna bring, stress to your life. You want to try to make it easy, where we do the proper protection, the sealing the area that we're gonna work. And sending the right people, because we're trying to be very particular with the people that we hire, make sure we don't have any problems later where things disappear for the houses or the people is damaging, because that's important for us.
Mhm.
Going to the subject about the water leak, the most important thing is when going back to the storm in February, I've been doing this for a while, Alex, and I never see so many water damages in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been insane. I
Yeah.
mean, even like I mentioned to you off the air, we're starting 2 projects today with water damages.
Mhm.
One is entire home in Plano. It's probably almost 7,000
Still
square
from
feet.
that freeze.
Oh, yes.
So
because
you're still just getting to homes. that
Yes,
were
sir.
damaged
Because
in
now
February.
they took forever to work out the proper budgets, money, checks for homeowners, for general contractors,
Mhm.
where finally the funds are there.
Mhm.
But in that time, we have people who's been living in a hotel or
Mhm.
people who's been leasing a house for 6 months already.
I had
And
no idea.
now we have
Yeah.
at the beginning of those projects, that people basically is losing their home for 1 year.
Wow.
And
Wow.
some of the water damages there quickly. They're just a couple $1,000 in damage. But some, basically, the people lost everything.
But when you have a wall or a ceiling that's in a room and it has water damage and has to be patched and replaced, it's a mess.
Yes,
It doesn't
is.
matter how big. I mean, it does matter how big. I'm not talking about whole house. I'm just talking about a typical leak would be a ceiling in a bedroom. Maybe it goes through the floor. if it's a 2-story and the ceiling below it. So you have sort of a confined, defined area that you're
Yes.
working in. But we're talking about houses that had the entire water lines in the entire houses burst and spray for days because they
Correct.
couldn't get them off. We didn't have any heat, and then they froze and they thawed, and we had the same problem all over again.
Mhm.
And so it's massive damage that has to be repaired. Are you having are they having problems if it's taken them 6 months to get settled with the insurance company and get these budgets worked out? That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time, and it's a lot of problems. Well, when you have a leak, to any of the homeowners, they're watching the program. The first thing is to shut the water off,
Right.
turn the AC off, because many of the time it's not a water line; it's just a condensation line where we have 110 temperatures. The attics, they're probably 130, 140 degrees. We have a lot of condensation, and that just happened to my own house a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
Where the water overflows the tray for the AC. Now the water is running through the walls, is buckling your hardwood floor.
And you don't see it. I mean,
Yeah, you don't see it till it's. But you really, until you see the floors, they're kind of buckling, and you start seeing all these problems on the hardwood floor. That's a problem.
Yes.
That's when you need to hit the brakes, turn the AC off, turn the water off, and ideally call to a professional. In this case would be a plumber, could be an AC contractor where they can locate the problem. If it's nothing major, fix it. And then that's when you can go in 2 different ways. If it's a smaller damage, we can be happy to help you. When I say small, we're talking about 2-3 walls, 1 ceiling. Is something that we can do, where the first thing is you want to remove any damaged drywall.
When you say we can do, you're talking about instead of having to bring in another
subcontractor.
A contractor or something
because
like that.
if you only have a ceiling, basically it's better to remove that drywall, because the drywall and the insulation basically works like a big sponge.
Yes.
They're just sucking water, and more likely you're not gonna be able to reuse those materials.
I just tell them to just get it out.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing there to salvage, and none of it's expensive material-wise. Typically, I mean, nowadays I don't know what things cost anymore, but it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
A piece of sheetrock wasn't that expensive, so
Yeah.
the materials, just get rid of it, get it out of there. And so you don't have to deal with a mold issue.
Exactly. That's
insulation.
A big problem.
Don't try and let your insulation dry out. I see this all the time, and I'm like,
never works.
Why are you worried about it? Just get the stuff out of there. Put new insulation in. Now, there's something I wanted to ask you, because I've looked at a lot of these. Something I saw this year that I'd never seen before, where these guys, the remediation people, are drilling holes along the baseboard to try and get air in the walls. I guess that's an attempt to dry out the inside of the wall cavity, but if it's got insulation in it, that is not going to work.
Yeah, no, those holes that you're talking about, I've been seeing a lot too. That's kind of new for us in the last couple of years. I think it's a good system if you have a minor leak on the lower part of the walls, If the moisture level is slightly higher, but you don't see really major damage on walls and ceilings, I think those systems drilling the holes where the baseboard is going to cover works. You need the remediation company is a key contractor in a water damage, because they're going to be the professionals who decide what needs to come out. Could be drywall, insulation, sometimes cabinets.
Well, and they're who the insurance company depends on. So their word is got a lot of weight to it. Their recommendations.
They're the ones who basically mark the line of the scope of the work.
Right.
Where you can determine if it's only $1,000 or $2,000 damage, and then they can escalate it to dozens of thousands, or in some cases you lost the whole property, where it's cheaper just to demo the entire house and do it. But you're right, the insulation and drywall is really not that expensive. It's better to take it out, remove it, stay away from problems with mold, because the mold is a big issue.
I had a guy that he could not conceive of why I was telling him to pull his carpet.
Yeah.
I just said, pull your carpet out because the pad under it.
Yes.
And, in about 2 or 3 hours, it starts smelling.
Yeah.
Well, your carpet, ladies and gentlemen, is full of crap. It's stuff you've been packing in there with your feet for years, and it goes down through that carpet, goes down into that pad, and baby, when it gets wet, it just turns into a big nasty mess, and it gets moldy literally in hours. So I'm telling the guy, just peel it back. But he just didn't want to have to pay for that new pad. And he sucked it, and he sucked it. He had a deal in there, a shop vac, literally for hours. And the remediation guy came in, and first thing he did is he peeled it back. Carpet. So, folks, if you have a lot of water, if it's in something replaceable, like if you want to save your carpet, peel the carpet back, pull the padding out from under it, and get rid of it, because you will never dry it out. It just becomes a mold issue.
And keep in mind that those of some of those pads, they're made with the recycled fibers.
Yes.
And the thing is, I've been seeing it where they have a white carpet. As soon as that thing gets so wet, all the colors, the ink from those recycles, they start seeing those colors coming out on the carpet,
absorbing into the dryer. When the carpet dries out, it's like a sponge.
Correct. And it's really sometimes it's really not worth to try to save it. It's better just to remove it. Make sure we control the moisture levels, with the proper moisture readings. Once it's controlled that level, that we get the green lights from the remediation companies, that's when we start putting back on. But that's something very important. Do not cover your walls. Do not cover your ceilings with any new insulation or new drywall until you're 100% sure that the moisture level is back to the normal.
Because that moisture's in the framing material.
Oh, yes.
It's in all kinds of places.
OSB, the backer board, the back of the stucco. It's so many areas where the moisture can be trapped. And I've been seeing that. I've been seeing where we get hired because apparently the other guy performed a bad work. And maybe the problem there was he did everything right, but they did it too soon. They speed the progress of the process of the reconstruction before the moisture level that was controlled. That's a key part. And sometimes when we already have damage that moisture for months, you can even have to replace those studs, or at least spray it with the proper, mold killer primer. Spray that product, and then that's when you can do the insulation and drywall. And
so get it back where it's safe to put it back. You have to be patient. There's no getting around it. It's going to do what it's going to do, and so that's all really fascinating. And I really appreciate you coming in and spending time with me this morning, and really, really proud of you and your family for what you've done. You've done a great job, and we're going to come back and we'll have some more discussions about, we're going to have him back. We're going to talk about textures and things like that, which is what I planned on today, but we ran out of time. So Eduardo Padilla with Platinum Turnkey Solutions. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll have a closing statement,